Did you know that child molestation and rape is so commonplace in our society that oftentimes the molesters and rapists don't see themselves as predators because society has told them that it's okay to abuse a baby, girl, boy, teenager, woman, man. Directly or indirectly, they have been given the license to abuse. And that license was given to them by you and I. How we rationalize, justify, defend, argue the abuse, how we debate on whose fault it is and whose it isn't. The questioning sessions we give the victim. What did you do? What were you doing there? Why did you wear that outfit? So you see, by the time you and I are questioning, judgmental, dismissive, and doubtful when a victim tells us about their horrible, evil, indecent, heart-wrenching thing that has happened to them, the natural human instinct is to go into self-preservation mode. And in most cases, this means they stop talking. They internalize and try to deal with it all on their own. The result of this is a damaged adult who directly or indirectly hurts those around them. And that's why understanding the root cause of silence is vital to change the narrative one step at a time. And with me to discuss this is Taiwo Akinlami. Taiwo, amongst other things, is the co-founder and CEO, Power Parenting Company. He's a children's human rights protection and family strengthening advocate. He's the founder, Guildhall Partners, a public interest law firm, and also the convener, Safeville Annual Children's Conference. Taiwo's mission is to secure a friendly and protective environment for the precious African child through social protection and development. And his vision is to achieve this through social empowerment advocacy. And he has been doing this for over 24 years. Welcome, Taiwo. We have so much to talk about in such a short time. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's delve right in. And the first question I have for you is, can you, in your opinion, tell us what you think the top 5 root causes of staying silent are?
Well, silence is defined as a culture, and it depends on whose side you are on the matter. I think silence is a function of so many things. And I would like to start by saying that silence is condemnable because if it is a culture, what informed it? How did we get to a point where when my wristwatch is stolen, I'm allowed to come out and talk about the fact that my wristwatch is stolen? When my car is stolen, I'm allowed to come out and discuss that my car is stolen. Now, nobody asked me, where did you park it? Nobody asked me, where did you put your wristwatch? Nobody asked me, where did you put your clothes? Everybody sympathizes and empathizes with me and say, oh, we're so sorry. At that point, the shame always belongs to the person who stole my wristwatch. The shame always belongs to the person who steals my car. But when it comes to my virginity, when it comes to my dignity of human person, as expressed by the essence of my sexuality, when it comes to my privacy, somebody violates it, then the society changes the equation. They begin to ask me, what did you wear? Why did you go there? What you two, did you enjoy it? And it becomes a major issue. So I asked myself the question, why is the standard not the same? If my car was stolen 3-4 weeks ago and I complain now, nobody says, why are you just talking about it now? Why didn't you talk about where your car was stolen? Everybody understands. But it is important to know that my car is replaceable. My wristwatch, no matter how much it is replaceable. But what is not replaceable is my virginity, is my dignity of human person, is the essence of my sexuality that has been stolen. All of that is not replaceable. But the society has more sympathy for what is replaceable and no sympathy for what is not replaceable. I think that is a down culture. That's a culture that is condemnable. That's a culture we must oppose. That's a culture we must condemn. That's a culture we must not at any point in time agree with, and that's a culture we must bring to the fore. Now, the truth of the matter is that you say that that culture is prevalent everywhere in the world. But you see, the reason why it is prevalent in other parts of the world is completely different from the reason why it is prevalent in this part of the world. And so if you want to say why silence is prevalent here, I think the truth of the matter is that we must give credit to Africans, to Nigerians, because they are speaking up. You know, Timi Dakolo's wife spoke up. Recently, Princess spoke up on behalf of the daughter.
Very true.
Many people have spoken up. So the truth of the matter is that what becomes of those who have spoken up? So the issue again is no more about whether people are speaking up or not. It is whether when they speak up, it is going to be worth it. Whether those public exposure, whether those privacy that they broke twice because somebody's privacy has been violated, the person comes out to say my privacy has been violated, whether it's going to find sympathy, empathy with the members of the public is the conversation we need to begin to have. Why is it that when people speak up, there is nothing happens? I think those are the basic things we need to begin to look at, which is the fact that, number one, when you speak up, you can't get justice in a land where there's no justice. You see, the truth of the matter is that our justice system in Nigeria is comatose. As a matter of fact, it's almost non-existent. I've never seen a nation in recent history where their judiciary did not sit for over 60 days. Now, just yesterday, it was just yesterday that an agreement was reached by JUSUN, that is the judicial workers, and the government after almost 60 days of the court not sitting. That has implication. When there's no justice in the land, you don't expect justice. Number two, where is the support system for those who speak up? When someone speaks up to say, I've been sexually molested, I've been raped, I've been abused, where is the support system? In a land where 145 million people are either living in abject poverty or they are living or they are vulnerable. There's no availability of social protection, no electricity, no food, no shelter. When people speak up, what happens to them? That is another issue. The third issue is the fact that what about the support system when somebody speaks up? All of those are not in existence. That is without prejudice to the fact that there are NGOs here and there who try to support. But the truth of the matter is that the welfare and the security of the people shall be the primary aim of government. That is the principle of social contract. When that is not in place, when people have to now begin to fend for themselves, the truth of the matter is that we are in a very difficult circumstance. And silence becomes the option. Because when you speak, you become more vilified, you become more persecuted, you become more shamed, you become, talked about negatively as if you are the one who did the wrong thing. I think with that kind of background and with that kind of environment, it's difficult for people to come out and speak up.
Yeah, you become a pariah. You know, you become that person that even your own family don't want to be associated with. They don't want to say, they don't want to stand up for you. So, yeah, I see what you mean. So you said 3 key points there. Lack of good justice system, no support structure, bad welfare, bad security. So those are some of the top things that make people keep quiet. Yes. And then when we were speaking a few days ago, you also mentioned the abject poverty. And you told me about a case where somebody said, okay, no problem, because they were given 30,000 naira after they had reported that their 13-year-old had been violated. So poverty is a big problem.
There's poverty. There's ultra poverty. Ultra poverty is when you are not only poor, but you don't have the capacity to remove yourself from poverty. When we advocate in this part of the world, we only look at one section of the society. So we advise women, speak up, empower yourself, get a job. Don't allow a man to be the one, financing you. When you do that, you are good. You can speak up. That is to a part of the society. That is not all the society. In a society like Nigeria, where we are being classified and dichotomized along poverty line and wealthy line, or well-to-do line, where the gap between the have and the have-not is almost infinite. You cannot talk like that. You have to take on board the fact that both the rich is raped, the poor is raped. The children of the rich are molested, the children of the poor are molested. Depending on where you are on the side of society, your response is going to be different. When you are poor and you approach the police says you have to buy fuel in their car, in their van. When you are poor, you approach the police says they cannot come to court until you fund them. When you are poor, even to get money to go to the police station is a major problem. And so, unfortunately, your child has been molested or defiled or sexually assaulted, and you are looking for justice, and you look at all the obstacles that have been put on your way to be able to achieve justice. What do? The natural instinct is to give up. Again, the person who abuses your child may be a powerful person in society, begins to threaten you, and you know that there's no justice system to rely on, to fall back on. What do? You keep quiet. Now, I was talking about the case of a community leader in an area in Lagos who sexually molested a child, and after sexually molesting the child, we swung into action. We wanted to do something under the auspices of Child Protection Network Lagos State, where I used to be the general secretary until recently. And at the end of the day, what did we find? We found that the parents were not ready to cooperate with us. And because the parents were not ready to cooperate with us, we began to dig to find out why they were not too keen to cooperate with us. And they made it abundantly, information had it that 30,000 naira has exchanged hands. Now, this is a family who has not counted in their lifetime, maybe 5,000 naira in their lifetime. Now, because their daughter has been sexually molested, has been defiled, the person who defiled the child, in offering them a settlement of 30,000 naira, that's like 30 million naira. That's like 30 million naira in their own economy. So, of course, they collected the money and they kept quiet. They were not interested in pressing charges. So, you ask the question, how come you did not you did not get the parents arrested also? The truth of the matter is that if a child is molested, there are three culprits. The first one is the person who is supposed to protect the child. The second culprit is the person who actually commits the offense, and the third person is the person who did not speak up when that happens. But the truth of the matter is this: when you also want to prosecute the parents, you also need to think about the impact of all of that in the entire, whether you are also going to get justice, whether the court is going to sit, whether judicial process is going to aid you. So the truth of the matter, at the end of the day, there is a lot of clog in the wheel of progress of seeking justice for those who have experienced one form of sexual abuse, molestation, or defilement. So that is the issue. When poverty is a major issue, then people's thinking are messed up. They think more of survival than they think of seeking justice. It is only those who are well that can donate blood. And that is a major issue that we need to look at, because if we are interested in the way forward, if we are interested in finding justice for those who are sexually molested, which they must get, we must be interested in the system that is in place to get that justice for them. And I must swiftly say to you that when there are three reasons why people commit crime. The first one is the will to commit a crime. Number two, the second one is that people and the reward of crime. The third one is the possibility of escape from the scene of the crime and from justice. So when the possibility of escape is so sure, that gives birth to the culture of impunity. Nothing will happen. It depends on who I know. It depends on what I do. It depends on how much I'm able to throw around. There was a video that trended, like 2 years ago, of a man who was on Twitter who was saying, I will rape you and nothing will happen. I will rape you and nothing will happen. And the truth of the matter is that it is not on record that man was arrested, he was questioned, he was queried, he was reprimanded by the system. All the judgment that came to him was on Twitter, was on Facebook, was on Instagram. And at the end of the day, those channels, social media, they do not punish. They do not bring people to a definite end of reaping the fruit of their misbehavior. So basically, when we look at all of that, we find that we need to begin to ask the critical question, where do we go from here? Whether you are the daughter of who has of wood, or the son of of a prime minister or the son of a senator or a rich person, if anything happens to you and you speak up, you will be sure that justice will be done. Justice will not only be done, justice will have been seen to have been done.
Okay, thank you so much, Taiwo, for that. So that then takes me to my next question, which is, what can us as individuals do to help change the narrative? Because you spoke about social media, and it's ironic how what is trending right now is the fact that Twitter has been banned, you know, which is another crazy thing on its own. But what can we as individuals do to help change the narrative?
Well, what we can do to change the narrative, so we need to define the narrative we are trying to change, because as I in my conversation with you before this interview, I made it abundantly clear that the issue is not about speaking up. People are already speaking up. People are speaking up.
Yeah.
The problem is that when they speak up, nothing happens.
Yeah.
So if we're going to change the narrative, so we need to look at, okay, two sides of the narrative. Okay, there are some people who are not still speaking up. Why are they not speaking up? Okay, let me give you another example very quickly, and I begin to go into one or two things that I believe we can do. Now, so I queue up after leaving school. My parents have suffered. They've gone through a lot. Finally, I'm one of the few people in the community who has been able to get an education. I'm a lady. So I applied for this job. After a rigorous interview, I went through a lot. Finally, I got a job. I got this job. The entire family is depending on me. They are saying, you know, your brothers are there, your sisters are there. And this King Kong, who is supposed to be a leader, who is supposed to protect his staff, begins to make overtures to me as a woman. And so I'm hooked. I'm thinking about, look at all that I went through to get this job. Look at the family that is depending on me. My survivor instinct kicks in. Okay, maybe I should let it be. Maybe I should allow it. And that continues to go on. Now, I'm in a situation. Now, please note that that may not be an excuse. But the truth of the matter is that when you want to solve a societal problem, you must create a scenario for everybody. Because our threshold as people are different. My threshold is different, yours is different. And so when you put people in difficult circumstances, you put pressure on their capacity to misbehave. And before you know it, they begin to misbehave. And that is the truth of the matter. You know that in one country, is Zimbabwe or one of these countries, people, commercial sex workers are collecting food, rice, beans, as payment for the trade. And if you can call it a trade. So the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, what we need to begin to do is to have conversations like this, to put culpability where culpability belongs, not to misrepresent the issues, to understand the issues. When we understand the issues, I think when you see a doctor, your salvation and your deliverance begins when the doctor is able to properly diagnose the issue. If you're having a headache and the doctor thinks you have stomach ache, and the doctor begins to treat stomach ache, what is going to happen is that though you are receiving treatment, you are still on death row by reason of your ailment, because you are not receiving the right treatment. Treatment in itself is not a solution. What is a solution is the right treatment. So for me, having conversations like this, bringing clarity to the issue, which I call Ministry of Clarity, is very, very key. That's the first thing we need to do. We need to understand the issues. Why are people not speaking up? We should stop saying people should speak up, people should speak up. The people have spoken up, what happened? Why are people not speaking up? We need to understand. Number two, we now need to say, okay, if you choose to speak up, which you must, I encourage people to speak up, which you must, what are the support system that is available? It is unfortunate that most of the support systems that are available, though are run here in Nigeria, are supported by donor agencies. That's another problem that we have. All our lives are in the hand of donor agencies. This is a land flowing with milk and honey. But what do we do when it comes to human capacity development? When it comes to the welfare of our people, we always look onto foreign agencies, foreign organizations. It is important to know that one of the most robust response to sexual violence in Nigeria is being supported by the British Council under ROLAC. And they have organizations,
Taiwo,
NGOs
sorry,
that they support.
I'm going to have to interrupt you now because you've said quite a lot. And I really want to get to the crux of this. What can us as individuals do? One of the things you've said is conversation. So I'm sitting in my living room and I'm listening to you and it is bleak. And I'm thinking, kini mo le ṣe? How, what I go do? Do you understand? So I want to be able to come away knowing that this is one or two things that I can actually do to help a victim or a potential victim.
Yes, I've said, conversation, we need to talk. Number two, you need to be a shoulder. You need to prepare yourself as a shoulder that people can cry on. For example, somebody comes to you to say, this is what is going on, I can't leave my job. If you're in a place to be able to support, you can support. People fight these kind of battles in a support group. Can we form support groups? I know there are one or two organizations that I know in Nigeria, Project Alert, Mirabel Center, Warif, and all of these organizations. They offer support, to women particularly who come out to speak up. And the truth of the matter again is that when these organizations offer support, they offer support thus far. But I think there's a level of comfort and there's a level of succor that brings to women. And that's why, I talk about the effort being made by British Council with ROLAC, where they work with in different parts of the country. I think in all the 36 states of the Federation, and they offer psychosocial support. They offer counseling. They offer medical support. Mirabel Center is one of the projects they support in Lagos. So if you are in a situation, you should speak up at that level and expect that something will be done. These NGOs will come to your aid and ensure something happens. If you're in Lagos State, for example, there's Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team, DSVROT. They are doing a lot of work. We have referred a lot of people to them in our work, and we have seen that they have been able to help. And so basically, I think what we can do at the moment is to continue to have the conversation, is to encourage people that when you are going to speak up, plan your speaking up. Don't just speak into the air.
Yeah.
Have someone on an organization that can support you, because if you just speak into the air, because you think you have social media platform, because you think people will listen to you, you are just going to find out that you are speaking, but you are out in the cold, and the only people that are going to support you are people that are close to you. So find support. If you are going to speak up, maybe you are a woman, you are a man, you are working in a place, whatever the situation is, find someone that you can confide in. Find an association that you can work with that can lead that conversation. If you have that kind of association that can lead the conversation, what happens is that it makes it easier for you. And those organizations that I'm talking about must be able to provide certain support at the level of
So Taiwo, sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you again. Let me just quickly summarize that. I think what you're essentially saying is there needs to be avenues for support, there needs to be avenues for the conversations to be had, and we need to become more empathetic and caring, such that we become a shoulder to cry on. I'm actually also going to add to that it all comes back to the same thing from different angles. We need to begin to do a lot more research. What support structures are out there, and how can we play a role? So quickly, I want to then go on to my next question, which is, what do you think the short and long-term solutions are? So we've talked a lot about all the different problems, what the root of the problem, what we can do in the future. You've also talked about some of these support groups that they're out there. So in terms of short-term solution and long-term solution, can you quickly tell us what they are? We've got quite a short amount of time left.
Okay, well, I think I've spoken about the short-term solutions, which is all that we have spoken about just before you ask this question.
Yes.
The long-term solution is that we must struggle. We must fight for an egalitarian society. Justice is only possible in a society that is able to give it. You can't give what you don't have. The Nigerian system is warped. The Nigerian system is one-sided. The Nigerian system is comatose. As a matter of fact, that system is not capable of producing justice. It's like you are asking for water from a rock. It's not going to happen. So we must agitate. We must fight. Look at what just happened now. The Nigerian government says they are banned Twitter. Can you fathom that when we are not in a despotic society? So we need to fight, continue to lead conversation in the area of of our justice system, in the area of leading a egalitarian society where the judicial system will work, where there will be equality. When I cry out, there will be support for my cry. So short-term solution are the ones that I spoke about: find help, speak within a plan, and all of that. But there are some people who are not listening to this interview. There are some people who don't have data. There are some people who don't have money to even buy TV. There are some people who have TV, they can't even buy generator. There are some people who have generator, they can't put fuel inside with the increase in fuel. So they are not even hearing what we are saying. Those kind of people, what they need is an egalitarian society where it does not matter who they know or who they do not know, and justice will be pursued for them on the basis of the content of their testimony and the content of their character, not on the basis of who they know or who they do not know.
Thank you so much for that. And you know, the interesting thing that this has brought up for me is we are the change we want to see. It is time that we stop putting everything at the foot of our government. We know we have a bad government. That is our reality. But us as individuals, we can actually begin to effect change, because in my opinion, Nigeria is one of the countries that has the most amount of lawyers, the most amount of doctors, the most amount of this, the most amount of that. Yet, there don't seem to be enough advocacy groups. There don't seem to be enough, technocrats really fighting for the real issues. And I believe, from what I'm understanding from you, is there is something that every single one of us can do, be it in our church, be it in our office. There are researchers who can start doing a lot of research so that everybody knows all the support groups that you've mentioned. How is it that it's a British organization that has the national support group where they go to all the different states? You know, all of those things, we can begin to change them by ourselves. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you. Change is an ever-present possibility for any human being who's ready to take responsibility. So there is personal change. It's important for me to know that when I see something, I say something, and I do something, and I ensure that something is done. All of that are very, very critical. We must, do that. But it is also important to note that we cannot have a conversation about any form of problem without understanding the sociology and the socialization and the environment in which that problem is existing. If that happens, then we can as well obliterate government, remove government. And so we become our own government, which is the fact that I'm a local government chairman of my family. The truth of the matter is that there's no nation on earth where the responsibility of people taking care of themselves is solely on the shoulder of the people. Now, you talk about what people need to do, advocacy and all of that. There's a lot of advocacy going on. People come to your program, they come in respect, in discharge of public service, right? I've seen the first guest who came. He must have gone through a lot to get to your studio. I'm 5 a.m., around where I am right now doing this. So that shows commitment on our part. We are doing our part. Nigerians are hardworking people, committed people. Look at what you are doing. You are doing your part. Hosting this program, you have other things that you could be doing, but you're part of this program. The entire crew doing this program, that is contribution. The truth of the matter is that there's something where I am in the US, there's something called co-pay. What is happening? There's something called counterpart funding. What is happening is that people are giving their best, but there's no counterpart reaction, counterpart contribution from those who signed up for the welfare and the security of the people. Do you know that nobody can investigate, nobody can try a crime in Nigeria except a court? Do you know an administrative panel cannot sit somebody down and say the person did sexual assault? If it's a crime in Nigeria, that administrative panel will be functioning outside its purpose. It is only a court. Now, when that court does not exist, what do we do? Okay, look at the Baba Ijesha case. I don't know if I can give that example.
Yes,
if there's
you can.
time. Baba Ijesha was arrested after there's an allegation that he sexually molested a child. Now, under our law, Baba Ijesha is to be charged to court in 24 hours or maximum 48 hours. Now, Baba Ijesha was arrested. Though, look at somebody who spoke up. Oh, Princess now, she has spoken up. People have supported her to speak up. Then, the issue now was that Baba Ijesha could not be charged because courts were not sitting. Look at the issue. Courts were not sitting. Because courts were not sitting, Baba Ijesha could not be charged. Police had a constitutional crisis. Some human rights activists began to say, and rightly so, that the offense committed by Baba Ijesha, allegedly committed by Baba Ijesha, is a bailable offense. They began to fight. Release him or charge him. Release him or charge him. Unfortunately, the court was not sitting. Look at how the judicial system, the justice system, has messed up that case because Baba Ijesha could have been charged. The court would have decided whether he should be kept in prison. The agitation for his release would not have existed if that agitation came. People would have named those leading the agitation as people supporting rape. But in this instance, you cannot say so because they are also making a legitimate case. Now, who is the person that allowed them to make that legitimate case? It is the state, because the state is not functioning. So I agree we must continue to play our part. Whatever I can do, if I see something, I say something. I can support the system. I can support people who want to speak up. But at the end of the day, we must come to a place where all of us can cry on the shoulder of the state that presents itself to represent the welfare and the security of the people. That is the ultimate goal. In the interim, we will do all we can. We will appear on programs like this. Yourself, your producers, and your fellow hosts, we have this kind of conversation. We continue to do the bit we can do, knowing that we are making our own commitment. We are making our own contribution. But what makes our contribution to come alive is the fact that there is a state where there is justice. There is a state that will not allow justice to be put down because there's no machinery to do so. It is like it takes a man
so
and a woman.
I'm so sorry. We've run out of time, but you have said a lot, and I really hope that it has made a difference, and our viewers have taken a lot away from them. The states. A lot of us listening to this program know people who are connected to the states. So it's time for us to stop being so quiet. It really is. It is now for us to be a part of helping to rebuild our country. Because if we don't do that, the future that we're looking forward to is going to be a mess. So on that note, thank you so much, Taiwo, for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure being with you this morning.
And hopefully we can start to do things differently because, like I said, the future is in the hands of our children and the onus is on us to do right by them starting now. Thank you so much for joining us. In a few minutes, John, Helen, and myself will round up the show, so please stay tuned.